Okay, more Unity basics today. This one is going to be animations. Let's do animation. Unity basics. Oops, animations. And these are going to be like animations that we build with a timeline and do keyframes and let Unity kind of interpolate between the keyframes and move things around. And we'll do rotate, scaling, translation of object on the screen. Okay, so project name. We'll go to 2D. I'll turn this stuff off and we will create a project. No, I don't need to save. So we're going to do, there won't be any code today. It'll just be showing the basics of how to use the animation system that's built into Unity. If you notice right here, I've got this animation. Let me just pull this thing out of here. If you don't have an animation window anywhere on your screen, you're going to need one for what we're doing today. And so you can go to Window and Animation, and then I'm just going to drag it down here. So it's in my little tabs down here at the bottom. If yours is up at the top, you can drag it and bring it down, like this. This is Animator. I'll just even close that one. We're not going to use, we're not using Animator today, just Animation Window. So that's the only one that we need. I dock it down here at the bottom because it makes it a little bit easier to do what we're going to do today. But you can drag your layouts wherever you want to put them. But mine will go down here. Okay, so here's our project, brand new project. We've got our main camera. It's 2D. I'm going to change the background color of my camera because it drives me crazy. And then let's drag in one object. Let's see here. It doesn't really matter what we're bringing in because I just want to show how to do. We can do this one. That works. So we have this thing here, and we can start to animate this. So this is just sort of just a 2D sprite that has no real animation to it, but we can animate moving around the screen. We can animate it rotating and scaling. And actually, you know what? I don't like this one. Let's find something else. Find something that makes this looks better. Something where we can identify the rotation a little bit better. So I'm going to put this thing in here, whatever this is. Again, these are Glitch, the game assets, and they are in the public domain, so you can search for them and use them. Okay, so I have my scene. If I hit play, all we've got is just this one thing, this little door here that says for sale. And we can animate it sliding back and forth by using keyframes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over here in my hierarchy, my project hierarchy, with the object that I've dragged in this image. And then I can click on the animation tab down here. And it's going to say, to begin animating bottle tree apartment door, create. So we will hit create. So again, I'm down here in the bottom. I'm going to click create, and we can call this door animation. There we go. And to start out with, all I want to do is animate this thing going to the right and then back to the left and just keep going over and over and over again. Pretty boring animation, but that's okay. We want to get the point across of what we're trying to do. So in order to do that, I've got my object selected here, and we have our animation tab selected down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to click the record button. And what's going to happen is I'm going to give it a little jiggle. Just move it just a little bit around, and it'll automatically put a keyframe here. And then these times here go up to a second. So right over here, this means 1 second. Let's say at 1 second, I want my door to be all the way over here at the right. So I'll just drag it over there. It's going to automatically add keyframes. And then I'm going to zoom out on my timeline with the scroll button on my mouse, make it a little bigger. And we'll say at 2 seconds, we want this thing to be back where we started from. All right. So here we have at 0, I'm going to click on it here. And then at 1 second, it'll be here. And then at 2 seconds, it's going to be back here. And the system will sort of interpolate what's happening. So let's just see it go. There we go. Not bad. And then there's you'll see like a little jump over here when it comes back to the left. And that's because our starting position and our ending position aren't the same. So it's not going to interpolate between those 2 points because it's just in a loop. So what we can do is make sure that these points and these points are at the same position. So I'm going to hit record again, just see where we're at. Right here, our x is negative. I'm over here. Negative 7.07, and y is negative 0.26. So if I click out here at 2 seconds, we just got to make sure that they're the same. So 2 seconds. Wait. 1. Oh. Well, anyways, I hit the wrong button, but negative 7.07 and negative 0.26. Right? So we're just trying to get these numbers, these values of the location, to match what it was when we started over here. So over here it's 707, negative 0.26. Then I'm clicking up here at 2 seconds, and they're the same over here. So now when I hit play, it should be a little bit smoother. So it's just going to go back and forth, and there's no jumping because it's going back and forth to the same position. All right. And so let's look a little bit closer about what we have going on here in our timeline. I'm going to expand this. And so what we've got is position X, position Y, and position Z. These are like the 3 parameters of our locations. And those are the things that are in these keyframes because that's the properties that we're changing. And we are currently, I'm down here in the bottom, we've got dope sheet selected. And so we can also look at curves. And this is going to tell us, how, with our acceleration. If you look at this, you can see that it sort of smoothly goes up and then slows down in like a really nice kind of sine wave acceleration, deceleration thing. And you can mess with that if you want to. If you click on this curves thing, like maybe you want it to accelerate a little more, take a little bit more time for the acceleration, and then when it comes back, be a little bit faster. And so we can watch that. So it'll kind of slowly take off and then go down. And as I was doing that, this maximum here, let me show you this. So this thing is red, which means it's the X position. And so as I was messing with this thing, just kind of changing the curves, this top peak was changing. And that's going to be your X position, right? So I was actually moving it more, which means it's going to go off screen, right? If I put it back down to here, it's going to stay on screen the whole time because this sine wave is going to max out right here and then come back down. This is our position. So we're getting far away to the right, and then we come back to the left. And we can do things like, move it down like this, so it's not going to go as far. Then we can start to do this kind of stuff. So you get to get these weird little curves happening. But it all depends on what you're going for. You might want to do this. And you can achieve the same effect by adding more keyframes. But yeah, we can go like this. But right now we only have one keyframe right out, which is this one right here that I'm kind of twisting around. So yeah, so you can play with all of these things to get the animation looking the way you want to look with. So these are the curves, and then there's also the dope sheet, which are the keyframes where we're at. So I'm just going to unplay this, and I think, yeah. So I'm going to go back to my curves, and I'll try to put this back to where it was. I think it was at a second, and then this thing was leveled out. So it looked kind of normal. 9, I think it went out to like 7. And then this went to like something like this. Oops. And then maybe this one needs another keyframe. We'll bring it back down. And let's see, what does this look like? Okay, not horrible. It's not exactly where we started with, but that's okay. It looks pretty good. So again, we're messing around. I'll go back to dope sheet. We're messing around with the positions. And we can do other things like we can mess around with the scale. So if I hit record and I want to put this thing back to a second, we can scale this thing up, make it big, and then see what happens. So now if I hit play, it's going to gradually get bigger. But see, then it stays big because we didn't scale it back down at the end of our timeline. So if I hit record again and I set my time back to 2 minutes, so we look here at the 1 second time, we've increased our scale to 1.7, 1.3, 0.7. But if I go down here at our 2 second mark, I'm going to set all these back to 1. And then when we hit play, we'll see it get big and then go back down. And it's still jumping a little bit because Why is that? Let's take a look. When we start out at 0, our scale is 0.72689. So I'm going to copy that. And I'll move my timeline over here. I set all these to 1, but that's not what it was. It was 0.72. So I will paste all of them in there. And then now when we do it, it's going to look pretty smooth. And you can achieve like the look of perspective or the look of, you're doing some 3D stuff by how you make this thing look. As it gets closer, it feels like you're getting closer to the, as it gets bigger, it feels like you're getting closer to it, and then it goes far away. And we can also do rotation. So yeah, so now we have position and scale, and then we can add a rotation in there. So let's move out here, and with our Z, I can maybe just rotate this thing. If I start to twist it this way, let's go this way. I don't know, we can twist it all the way around. 180. So I can just make this. Okay. 180. And then when we come, oops, let me put on right record. So that'll be 180. We start here. Since I didn't have record pressed, it actually set the rotation for the first keyframe. So now that we've got record, we want this thing back to 0. At this point in time, it'll be 180. And then when we come back here, it should be 0 again. And so now let's see what happens. So why isn't it rotating? What do we got here? Rotation at this point in time. Oh, this should be a 180. There we go. And then at this point in time, rotation should be 0. So here, 180. Here's 0. There's 0. There we go. So now it's doing this kind of thing. So we can, you don't have to script out all 3 of them, right? You can do any individual piece of these and put it in your timeline, and you can have as many things on screen animating as you want. And that's not a problem. So, and this will just keep looping forever. So that is just sort of a basic intro into doing the animations. I'm going to do one more scene. I'll save this scene as just number 1. I'm going to do a new scene. So file, new scene. We don't just have to animate individual objects. We can animate our camera as well. And we use the same kind of technique. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of stuff in here. Oops, go to my project tab. I already have a few things. I'll grab some more of these. Again, these are just assets that we don't really need them for anything, but just to, kind of make this look a little bit more interesting. Grab some of these, and I don't know, this, and maybe some of these. All right, so now if I take this out here, I'm just going to scale it out and put a whole big thing out here, and then some of these things, and I will make it in front, and I can put our door here somewhere, way over on the edge, why not? And I'll change my Z order so that's in front as well. And this is kind of a boring scene. Do we have anything in the sky? Any clouds? Yeah, I'll put this. Make some floating clouds. How's that? Put these things up here. I don't know. More of this stuff. And again, I'm just not, just kind of put this behind. And okay, whatever. That works. We don't need to spend all time designing this. Oh, blue background. Let me change that. All right, so here we go. We've got our little scene here. We've got this stuff. But let's say we want to see what's over here on the right. We can actually animate our camera going over there to look at it. And so we'll do that in the same way we did the other thing. So with the camera selected, we can click on animation, create animation clip. We can call it camera move. And we hit record. I'm going to click this little up here in the upper left. Click this thing, this crosshairs. And that allowed me to just move it along the x-axis a little bit. So I'll give it a little jiggle. There's our start position. let's go out to, let's make this a really like dramatic thing. So let's go out to 5 seconds. And let's have it be way over here. Okay. And then let's play it. And it's just going to scroll all the way out. I guess it's not super dramatic. And it goes all the way across there. And so that is our little animation. If you look at, so we when we created the animation clip, we selected the name camera move. And now here is this loop time, which means for it to loop. So now if I uncheck that thing, so I've selected it down here, and I've unchecked loop time, now it should just go once. And just stop. So we don't have to loop, right? That's just an option that's over here. And so you could have whatever you wanted to have in your scene, kind of stuff leading up to it, and then at the very end would be where you want it to sort of freeze and stop and do other things. And so you can do that by just unchecking this loop time. But yeah, so that's some basic animation stuff with sprites and with the camera. And if I can find OBS, I will click stop recording.